That is something we banged our heads on the walls for quite some time. It was not easy by any means, but actually, it was a combination of a bunch of little things. We kept trying every different little thing that you could think of until something worked. And actually, the two major things that were the main traffic generators and the main sales generators from us were industry-specific landing pages. So what we did was, if, for example, if you go into Google and you type in entrepreneur phone system, we're this, I believe, the second thing that pops up on Google through organic search. There's a landing page specifically designed for entrepreneurs for our system. Same thing, and you can get kind of funny with it too. You can type in florist phone system, and there we are. So we spent a lot of time building individual landing pages for every different industry that we knew that was small business, that had generally had less than 5 employees, that this is the type of solution that would be perfect for. So that was a huge traffic generator right there. The second was content marketing. We wrote a couple really good art. We wrote quite a few articles, but a couple of them really got some major traffic. And the one that was just the one that took off was alternative to Google Voice, and basically focusing on small business with TalkRoute. And it was just an article that went through. And this was also, I need to go back there. At this point in time, Google Voice, the future of Google Voice was very much up in the air. Google was at the time that this was last May, April, May. They were contemplating just shutting the whole thing down. So there's going to be hundreds of thousands of displaced users. So we took that and used that to our advantage and decided to write an article about it that basically ranked very well in the search engines about what the alternatives there were to Google, obviously naming us as one of them, and that was a humongous sales generator. So content marketing, industry-specific landing pages, those are the two main things. I mean, I would be lying if we didn't to tell you we didn't try pay-per-click, we didn't try all this other stuff, but nothing worked like just basically really good content and good content marketing.
So walk me through that, like through the failure part, because I think that's really important, because there was probably a lot of learning in what didn't work for it to get to what worked. So tell me a little bit about some of these things you tried that didn't work and why they weren't working.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go back to, for example, pay-per-click, Google AdWords. I think that's a very attractive thing, and actually it's something that we used for proof of concept when we were actually applying to Techstars. When we were going through the application process for that accelerator program, we wanted to get some initial customers in the door just so we could show that this thing worked and there was people using it and people were happy. So we started with Google AdWords, but as we came to figure out the average customer acquisition cost from Google AdWords was $240. And for a service that's $20 a month, it's gonna be a while before we make that money back. And still not knowing what the lifetime value of our customer was at that point, a little bit scary. So to get our first, 50 to 100 customers, pay-per-click was fine, and it worked. And those customers are still with us today. And I'm glad we did it because it got us referrals and it got people talking about us, and it was good. But it's not at all of something viable going forward and doing it on a large scale. So that would be probably one thing that I could really give you a good, just a good experience on a failure. It's something that works, but was also a failure at the same time.
So were there any other things you tried that ultimately were kind of like learnings that other people can benefit from in terms of how to get your name out there? The things that
Yeah.
didn't work.
Let me think. You know, I can tell you about something that just absolutely didn't work for us, and that was press releases. And that could just go back to our skills personally, trying to get ourselves covered in any type of tech publications or blogs or things like that. Just wasn't happening. It didn't matter how many users we had. It didn't matter how much revenue we were going to generate this month. The fact that we were bootstrapped and we didn't have investors behind us. None of it was getting us picked up for any type of coverage. And I think we wasted and spent a lot of time trying to make that happen. And now it's starting to happen. It's kind of funny. It's when you don't need it as much as now it's
Right.
now it's happening. So which is cool. But that was probably one of the biggest, most deflating things, I think. We really felt like we had something cool. We had something that people wanted to use, and nobody wanted to talk about it or wanted to cover it. And I think that's because the space is pretty. There's a lot of players in the space that we're in. As far as the actual virtual phone system space, there's not really anybody doing it very well. But as far as just VoIP and hosted phone systems and on-site, there's just so much of that stuff to show yourself the differentiating factor for yourself is extremely difficult to get that done in a couple sentence email pitch to an editor.
So you felt that press releases were just a bad way to get press coverage, or they were a complete waste of time because they didn't get press coverage? You know,
I wouldn't say that they were. I feel bad doing this because I met some really great people through some of those, some of those interactions, and they're people I talk to this day. And God, I hope they don't watch this video and think I don't like them. So that's not it at all. But at the same time, if you're talking about just simple numbers and users that signed up based on those efforts, it was a failure. But as far as from a networking standpoint and what those relationships may materialize into in the future, I can't say, and it actually looks kind of good. So it is an immediate failure, but it may be a seed that you're planting for something that grows into something down the road. And I'm sure, like I said, now that we've grown to a certain point, we're starting to see that coverage coming in, and we don't need it as much, but at least we've already made some of those connections that it's a little bit easier to get some things done.
but as you're getting coverage, and this is something really interesting because we have a lot of people always wanting to, they ask us, they're like, how'd you guys get on Forbes, this and that? And then we come back and they believe that you get so much by just appearing in an article on Forbes or something as a result of that. Have you seen any type of real direct sales come from the idea of just being featured places?
No, well, I mean, I obviously can't speak to it because, like I said, our coverage is very minimal. But from our experience, no, there wasn't. The real sales came from when somebody would sign up for our service from whatever avenue they came from. Was we actually we'll send out an email. Somebody gets a personal email. Every user still gets a personal email from me, and I will actually talk with them, learn about their business, show them how to use our product if they don't know how to use it, and just get that referral for the next customer. Because at this stage, when you're small and you're looking to build a business that scales, you don't necessarily need to do scalable things at this stage. The benefit to being small is that you can do unscalable things like write a personal note to every user and mail it to them. You can do those things at this stage because you're small. The big guys can't, so you have that to your advantage. And I highly recommend people take advantage of that. So you always want to go big and get that press coverage that's going to send you 1,000 users or 1,000 people subscribe to your blog and so on and so forth. But really, it's always for us. It's always been grassroots, just sitting there, spending the time, giving the best experience possible, and it usually always yields a positive result one way or another. Where it comes from, it's always something different, and I can't necessarily put my finger on it. I can just tell you that if you continue to do really good work and treat your customers that you have at this stage really, really well, you're going to get more customers.